if your company redesigns your job, gives you new roles, responsibilities, and you have the skills and abilities to do what they're asking you to do, how are you likely to feel?
Good.
Good, like great, I can finally show, like I can use my talents. However, conversely, if they're asking you to do things that you don't have any skills, abilities, or training to do, how are you likely to feel?
Defeated.
Right, defeated, maybe stressed, maybe dissatisfied. And we know the consequences of stress and job dissatisfaction. So we need to consider employees' knowledge and skills, or KSAs, whatever, knowledge, skills, and abilities, because that's going to affect how well it works. Another thing that's going to affect how well it works is if people really want it. And so that's really captured in this idea of GNS, or growth needs strength. So if I told you that your job is being redesigned, you're going to have new roles, responsibilities, do you want that? Do you want to learn new things? Do you want to grow? Now, most of you, I'm guessing, would. But do all employees want to grow and learn new things and be challenged?
No.
No. Okay? I'm guessing a lot of you would, but some people don't, right? So growth needs strength is kind of like, if we're related to what we talked about in the past, it's kind of like being near the higher parts of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Or if you remember Alfred's erg theory, existence, relatedness, growth, is kind of being towards growth. So that's what growth needs strength represents. If they have it, job enrichment is likely to go well. If they don't, if they're low in growth needs strength, it probably won't go well. Let's see. So this one company we're doing some consulting at, the president wanted us to do empowered teams. That's what he hired us to do. And so we did what we were hired to do. And one of the employees was not happy. And he came to us and said, listen, I don't want my boss's job. I don't want my coworker's job. I want to do this and go home. He was a drill press operator. And he just wanted to do this all day. Not happy. How would you describe his growth needs strength?
Low.
And some people are like that. Like, I don't want to learn. I don't want to be challenged and grow. I want to do the minimum amount I need and walk out with my paycheck. That's growth needs strength. Now, we left. I'm like, we did what we were hired to do and left. I don't know what happened to that guy, whether he got with the program or quit or what. I don't know what happened, but that's growth needs strength. The last thing we need to consider is whether or not this will work is, that's the picture I came up with I didn't draw it myself, but for growth needs strength. Not the best, but anyway, actually not that good at all. Is satisfaction with contextual factors, or the work context. Now, this sounds kind of odd. So we're talking about the work context, things around the job itself. So not the job in and of itself, but things around the job. Pay, benefits, your boss, policy, supervision, your coworkers. These are contextual factors. Kind of like, if you remember, we talked about Hertzberg's motivator hygiene theory. Essentially, we're talking about hygiene factors. So here's something that we had. This was on one of the handouts that I gave you. We went over it in class. These are hygiene factors. So essentially, if people are unhappy with their pay, with their benefits, with their supervision, they're not going to respond well to job enrichment. So you're going to ask me to do all these things, and I still have like low pay, and my boss is still a jerk. And so job enrichment's not going to work. This model's not going to work if we don't also look at these things. The model's about intrinsic motivation, getting you excited about your job, and that's the core of the model. But you can't neglect these things. You can't neglect pay and benefits and working conditions and these types of things. It's not going to work if employees are unhappy with these things. So does the model, does A lead to B, core job dimensions, critical psychological states, personal work outcomes? Well, it depends. Whether or not that happen will depend on some things. So in the previous slide, they called them moderators, Some books describe them as mediators. Your book describes them as individual difference factors. So these three things, growth, need, strength, knowledge, and skill, and contextual satisfaction or satisfaction with the work context, will determine how well this works. Is there a question? Are there any questions? Actually, or are there any questions?
Are groups similar moderators to like what can reduce stress?
Well, knowledge and skill could be not the same. No, I mean these would be. I mean, maybe satisfaction contextual factor, so that could be seen like kind of a stress moderator in some way, but not the. I don't see how the first two would. But they call them individual difference factors or moderators. In some studies, they're found as mediators. These are things that determine how well the model works. And if they have low skills and abilities, probably not going to go well. If they don't really want to learn new things, probably not going to go that well. If they're really unhappy with their pay and their benefits and their work conditions and their supervisor, they don't like those things, probably not going to work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. All right. So let's get to the fun part. And you're like, well, this has all been fun. Can there be more fun? Well, here we go. There it is. All right, so what is it? You're like, well, it's obviously fun, but what is job diagnosis? Good. Let's add some more to that, like everything. All right, so let's break. So what are we diagnosing?
The job.
Very good. So we're diagnosing a job to see, is a job healthy in terms of what? What's today's topic?
Intrinsic motivation.
Job design.
Job design. So we're saying, is the job designed well? Is it a healthy job in terms of how it's designed? That's what we're talking about here. Now, there are a lot of ways that we can determine if a job is healthy in terms of its design. One of them is we can give out a survey. Just like we can give you a survey to fill out about your health, we could give employees a survey to fill out about their job. Okay, so Hackman and Oldham came up with a survey to measure how well a job is designed, called paradoxically the Job Diagnostic Survey. Well, it's not paradoxical that the survey to diagnose a job is called the Job Diagnostic Survey. Anyway, so it's a survey, and here it is, to measure how well a job is designed. So if you go to the doctor, you're like, am I healthy, doc? And he or she's going to check some stuff. Your blood pressure and your heart rate and your BMI and cholesterol and white blood cell, red blood cell, all that stuff. So what do we look at a job to see if it's healthy in terms of its design? We know what a healthy person has, what levels he or she has. What does a healthy job have in terms of its design? All right, that's totally wrong. That's not right either. Does anyone have, any answer? Hackman and Oldham would say a good job has what?
The skills, like do you need a lot of skills for the job?
Very good. So a lot of skills. So there's a score that they have to measure how well the job is designed, and it's called a motivating potential score, MPS. So the JDS gives you an MPS, a motivating potential score. And this is a measure of how well a job is designed, or if you want fancy talk, a measure of the adequacy of job design. Is a job designed well? It'd be like if you went to your doctor and your doctor gave you a health score. He or she took a lot of measurements, and then he or she said, here's your overall health score. That's essentially what this is for the job, because it looks at those dimensions that you just mentioned. So here we have an equation. So we have what makes a healthy job, and they say, well, you need different skills and abilities, and then you need task identity, task significance, and they say, well, in our calculation, we're going to take these three things and divide by 3, and then you need to multiply that by autonomy, and then you need to multiply that by feedback. So that's how they do the calculation. So let's do some math here. If we look at this equation, what are the most important factors in this calculation? The most important core job dimensions. That's right, autonomy and feedback, because those things are multiplied, right? So those have a higher, they're not divided by 3 just as they are. So it kind of represents like that Fortune magazine, best companies to work for. Autonomy was a big deal in terms of what you have in a job, and this shows up in here in this equation. So here's a formula used to calculate a motivating potential score. How well is the job designed? So let's say that you took this survey. Here it is. This is a JDS, Job Diagnostic Survey. It's kind of thick. It's got a lot of scales here. Let's say that you can see the thickness. Let's say you gave this to your employees. You have a group of employees that do a certain task. Like in the one company we went to, a drill press operators, or whatever your employees in one department do. We didn't use this for the drill press operators, but I just used it as an example. So say you give this to your employees, you come back, and let's say you have 100 employees, or I don't know however many, enter the scores into Excel, and you do this simple calculation. You get a mean for each of these, and then you do the calculation. Now what? So you get an NPS score. What is it? Time to go home? Is it nap time? Is it Miller time? Are you going to get a colonic? What are you going to do?
You compare the scores with the scores.
Very good. Excellent. So, I mean, you're going to compare it with other scores, right? So if you have other jobs that are like yours and your score is like those, that tells you something. When you go to the doctor and you get your cholesterol numbers, one of the first things you do is like, well, what's good? Is this good cholesterol? Is it bad cholesterol? Am I high? Am I low? And the same idea they say applies to a job. You get an NPS score and compare it to jobs that are like yours. If your score is high, well, and the employees aren't motivated to do the job, it may not be the job design. Maybe it's a supervisor. Maybe it's something else. So it tells you how well a job is designed, and you, like going to the doctor, you look at like BMIs, it's a good range or bad range, you can look at that, they say, for a job. So it's kind of interesting. Now, before I move on, am I moving too rapidly through this?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you. So here's where it gets fun, more fun. So what we can do is this: I can give this to a group of employees, and then I can, let's say I have set of employees who do job A, set of employees who do job B. So this bar chart here, the height of the bars represents the MPS score, the motivating potential score. So job A has an MPS score of, 270, Job B has an MPS score of, 38. So which of these two jobs is a good candidate for being redesigned?
Job B.
Job B, right? So job B has a low MPS score. That should be something I want to pay attention to. Job A, that's a high NPS score. And what's interesting, kind of useful, well, not kind of useful, very useful, is we can graph this stuff out. So I can take my mean for my employees at one department for their skill variety, and I can map that out in their task identity, task significance, autonomy, feedback, and look at the profile. So job A, not much I need to do here. People are happy with this job. This is good. People are going to be happy with this job. If you look at the profile, nothing's, maybe you want to bump up task identity a little bit, but really job A is, in terms of its design, is really good. If people aren't happy with job A, not motivated, it's probably something else. Things aren't going well with job B. Well, now this helps me see where the problems might be. So what stands out to you as things you would want to address for job B?
Feedback from the job and,
Right, so feedback
and autonomy.
Autonomy, right. So Jared said autonomy. So both those things. And if we remember the mathematical calculation, these are weighted the most heavy. So if it were me, I would be concerned about these things and these things. So it seems like task significance is not an issue. Like employees seem to think what they do has an impact either within the organization or outside the organization. So that's not an issue in terms of how this job is designed. Obviously, feedback and autonomy I would try to address, but also skill variety and task identity. I mean, sometimes in real life you can't, I'll change all of them. Sometimes you can't change them. But what you can do is I would try to increase these and these, whichever ones I could, to bump up my NPS score. So if I increase my NPS score, that means my job is more well designed, which means theoretically people should be more motivated to do it. So that's actually kind of useful if you think about it. It helps me diagnose a job. That's the whole point of this. We want to diagnose a job and see if it's well designed. So kind of cool. Questions about how to interpret these two graphs. Okay. So let's take the things we've been talking about for this model and let's apply it to our jobs or former jobs or a job if we've never worked, a job we hope to get. Most of you have worked. So this is an individual job diagnosis exercise. So this is not a group exercise. This is not the graded thing that you do. The graded thing that you do, you're not going to do for a little bit, right? You're going to do that on 11/16. This is something we're going to do in class. I'm going to assign you to a breakout room, and you're going to analyze your current job, or if you're not working a former job, and if you've never had a job, your dream job, maybe. And we're going to spend time putting this into practice and thinking more deeply about these things. So what you're going to do is this. I'm going to divide you into trios, probably three, sometimes two, depending on the number of people in the class. Divide them into trios and take turns. And by the way, this here is in your handout. Because I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. You probably won't be able to see this anymore. So this will be in your handout. So you might want to pull that out. Anyway, let's read it. It says, divide into trios, which I'll do for you, and take turns presenting a job you have held for analysis by your trio members. First, briefly explain the job, then answer questions as if you are being interviewed by a newspaper reporter. The two trio members doing the analysis will briefly confer after asking a few questions on each of the 5 core job dimensions and assess a score from 1 to 7. 1 being low, 7 being high. So you have a team of 3, and you're going to do a round robin where in the beginning 2 people interview 1 person, like newspaper reporters. So if you're the person being interviewed, you briefly describe your job, and then your 2 team members are going to ask you questions about skill variety and task identity and task significance. And so they're going to interview you about skill variety, asking you those questions, and then your 2 teammates will say, I think he or she is like a 5. And so you get a 5 for skill variety. And they're going to do that for task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback. And then you're going to rotate. So now you're going to be the person who interviews with someone else, another person, and you're going to all rotate around so that everyone is interviewed by his or her teammates. So when you're done, you're going to have 3 MPS scores: one for you, one for your other teammate, and one for your other teammate. So when you're done, you should have 3 individual MPS scores. It says, so remember, 1 is low, 7 is high. Then they will plug the numbers into the formula, and here it is again, and arrive at a final MPS. Some sample questions to help you analyze each of the core job dimensions appear below. Feel free to call the oh, really? No, that's fine. If you have a question, let me know. I can't really come over to your group, but I will be popping into your breakout rooms to see if you have questions. And this bottom part we won't deal with right now. So, do you understand your task?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you, it'll take a few minutes. In terms of the timeline, you're going to be in groups from, let's see, 1 o'clock to 1:20. So you're going to have 20 minutes to do this in your triads, your trios. So let me start assigning you, and then I'll send you off. So, and I may have to move people around because that's just kind of what you have to do to get relatively even breakout rooms.
Spencer, I have a question.
Yeah.
So for the interview, we're essentially just asking the questions and skill variety, task identity, resignation task. And then,
When the other person who's working with you in that round asks that person those questions like you're interviewing them.
okay, and then who is supposed to give the score? The people interviewing or
Because you're getting another person's assessment as well as yours. You say, I think it's about a 5, and you both agree that let's say it's a 5 or whatever number you come up with.
Oh, okay, so we both discuss what
Yes.
we. Okay.
Correct. Thank you. Other questions? All right, so let's see where we're at. We have. All right, good luck.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
So, yeah, I mean, whoever wants to go first, let me know. Or if nobody wants to take it, I'll take it.
Go for it. I'm a little confused, but yeah.
Alright, so I mean, so this. Oh, sorry, give me a second. I'm eating. Basically, what we have to do is that let's say I would go first, right? I have to
Okay.
describe my job, tell you like, hey, I do this and that, yada yada yada, and then you guys ask me a question about skill variety, task identification, task simplification, and autonomy, and then the only part I got confused was in like if we both have to have individual scores, like you guys come up with one score and I come up with another, and then from there we kind of go, or if we have to agree on a score.
Yeah, that confuses me too. I do the rest of it, but
We can just start and then we can do two things. Like I'll come up with a score and then you guys can come up with a score together.
Yeah, I think we do come up with the score together because it says confer after asking a few questions.
Okay, so I mean, do you guys want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
yeah, go for it.
All right, so right now I am. How do you say? I'm basically doing marketing for artists, and I mostly work as an individual contractor, through my own company. But I also sometimes right now I'm working with a client who's hiring me basically like as kind of an employee, but not really. But basically, through this job, I get to do all sorts of skills, such as all sorts of marketing techniques, such as like social media, campaigns, Facebook, Google ads, YouTube ads, animations, like things, a bunch of things I get to like learn how to do and how to outsource. So yeah, that's kind of that's really cool. And yeah, I mean, I basically get to do things how I want, when I want, as I see fit, and I get to, I haven't gotten to the feedback point yet because I'm barely, most people just kind of give me the trust where it's like, oh, we know you know how to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as an autonomy, not very much. Sorry, so not autonomy. So as in feedback, not very much. Although I am working on that part. But yeah, I mean everything else seems like to me like pretty high. And give me a second. I'm just looking at one more. Oh yeah, for task whatever the identity, like for that, like a lot of times, yeah, I do get to see a project through. Sometimes I don't. I only get brought on for like a part of it, so that's kind of like a hit or miss. But yeah, and how important it is. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's really awesome to do what I do. But yeah, that's basically it.
That's pretty dope, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so now you guys have to ask me a question about all of them now.
Let's see. Question. Well, what company is it? You said independent or?
Yeah. Oh no, but like the questions we have to go. Okay, I mean, I guess you guys can ask me any questions, but you guys have to ask me this question about like skill variety, task identity, task significance, and autonomy.
Oh, okay. Do you get all the opportunity to use all your skills?
Yeah, I feel like for a lot of it, it's been basically like all my skills, like not even only like mental but physical. There's been times where I've had to be like in a studio till like 7 a.m.
God damn.
And that's like fuck, like you need to like that's not only like mental, that's also like physical. Like can you endure like hours in a studio with people just smoking weed and trying to be focused?
Yeah.
And hotboxing the room, I could now, but it's obviously like when you do it, like it's a pain. Even when I had to go to Miami for a music video, like I had to wake up like every single fucking day hungover, and I had to like put on a smile and be like, okay, we're gonna go shoot a video, we're gonna go do this, we're gonna go meet up with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only just, it hasn't only just been like my mental skills, but also my physical skills. So I feel like on job variety, like or skill variety, like that's a high 7. Like I've learned so much from my end, but I don't know what you guys think. You guys can.
Damn, that's actually really fucking dope. Actually, I have some questions actually that don't even apply to this stuff. As far as task identity, what exactly do they mean by that? Just completing it as a whole, or?
Yeah, so like when it be like, are you like remember the toaster thing example he gave us? Like, are you just
if you're doing the plug or the whole thing?
Yeah, like are you just doing one thing, or are you doing like, like the entire thing? So like for me, like I for that one's like that one might be for me like if we're going out of 7, it might be like a 4 because sometimes I just get brought on for one section, which would be like, hey yo, can you promote this music video? Can you run this on playlist? Yeah. Can you hook me up with somebody who does video? Like, sometimes I only get brought on for that one thing, so I don't really get to see an artist fully come through. But at the same time, like, for me, it's different because I'm charging, like, $1,500 per client to just come in for a month. Now I'm actually charging, like, $2,000. But that depends, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, that entails, like, when we do that, like, we're like, okay, cool, like, we're gonna see a project through, if you're bringing me on, we're gonna go from A to Z. So for that one, it might be like a 4.7. Like, I do get brought on sometimes for just particular smaller tasks, but sometimes I get brought on like, yo, we're gonna develop the whole marketing plan, and we want to roll it out. Like I have a big one coming up, and it's kind of cool. But in that one, it's like a whole 3 months, and then potential to be more. And that one I'm excited about because I get to work with the artists. I get to like see things through. But as in other people, like that's only one client. I have a bunch of other little ones. That's kind of like I would rate myself like a 4.7 or a 4. But
Okay.
I think.
And
it's
then,
4.
and then your task significance must be high too, because obviously no one's gonna fucking hear their shit if you don't promote it.
Oh yeah, I mean honestly, like for job significance, it's. Oh hey professor. For job significance, I feel like on my end that it's pretty high, just because I mean I do get to see people kind of like smile when, or like even be happy about when they're just, when they see that their numbers go up on like a social media or a platform, and then just like wow, like people actually are listening to my stuff, and I'm like yeah, dude, like it's kind of like it's kind of interesting, it's really cool. Especially like with the smaller artists, like sometimes like I charge people a lot, but sometimes like for smaller artists, I'm like, oh yeah, bro, like don't even worry about it, Like sometimes I even do it for free, not even tell them. I'm like, oh, I didn't make any money, but it was just cool, like it was for the experience.
So then your autonomy must be high too, because it's pretty much you set the pay. You don't have no boss over you telling you what to do.
For the autonomy, I would give myself like a 6, like a solid 6. Just because I do have to report to somebody, Yeah. I am somewhat limited, but I do have the autonomy of like, oh, like, dude, I'm gonna be like today I'm gonna like fuck around and do nothing, and tomorrow like I can get it done and still be on time, I don't really have to like. But then the thing again, like for the autonomy, it's like that one's also like a double-bladed sword, because sometimes we just think we have all the time in the world. And we really don't, and we fuck up ourselves. So yeah, I would give myself like a solid 6. Like I'm not gonna be like
score. Okay.
Yeah. And feedback, I honestly don't. The only people that give me feedback is Google Analytics and like Google Facebook ads. So like that's not really like, I don't really have somebody like to set my thing off of, because what I'm doing is so fucking niche. So that one I would give myself more like a 4 or a 3.5.
Okay.
I don't really have people who I don't have like a mentor who's like, hey, these are good numbers or these are bad numbers. I'm kind of figuring them out as I go. So the feedback for me would be very low. Like, honestly, I would say like more like a 3.5.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I don't really think. I think that's kind of most of it.
All right. Do we calculate it now? Score.
So like 7. What was it like? Do you guys remember? Like skill variety was definitely a 7. Task identification was like what, a 4? A 4?
Yeah, it was. I think it's 7, 4, 6, 6, 3.5.
6, 6. 20. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think we should have to multiply it. Somebody just wants to multiply that real quick. Wait, do you have to multiply or wait? Sorry, you were saying.
It's the variety, identification, and significance over 3. Then you multiply it by autonomy and by feedback.
Oh, so 7 plus 4 plus 6?
Yeah, and then divide that by 3.
Times 6 and times 3.5, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I feel like is that right? I think
What'd you get?
I think I'm getting like a low number. I think I'm getting like 112. Is that right?
I mean, it's on there. Well, we'll see what I get next.
Yeah, so like 7 plus 4 plus 6 divided by 3 times 6 times 3.5.
Yeah, that sounds right. Damn, yeah, how is some... Oh, yeah, because, I mean, the first one on his example is, like, below 40. So, yeah. So that's a pretty decent score. All right, I guess I'll go next. You guys ready?
For sure.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I work in the back room at Home Goods, unloading the shipments. So pretty much, I pop open the truck, I unload the boxes onto the line so that 3 or 4 other people can process the boxes. And then once like the conveyor belt is like completely loaded up, then I'll start taking off like furniture mirrors. And if I have time, I'll start popping open that, and then once their like cardboard boxes start filling up, I take that to the bale machine, put that stuff in, and then usually by that time the line is empty again. So then I go back to the truck, load more on, and I'm pretty much just repeating that whole process the whole time. If we have like a really big truck, then I'll work with one of them and I'll also open up the boxes. But I mean, pretty simple job, you know. Put boxes on the line, open furniture, do their cardboard. That's pretty much really it. So as far as like skill variety, I had to get that pretty low. Honestly, like probably a 3. Because I mean I'm doing multiple stuff, but it's not like it's like super hardcore of how to do it. As far as identity is like seeing it like from beginning to end, right? That I'd give pretty high number because sometimes you have to get the truck in one day. So I'm there from 7 in the morning till, it depends. It could be 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Like the winter trucks are coming right now, so it's going to be huge trucks. So I could be there till 5. And so I'm seeing it from, you know, being completely packed to completely empty. So I'd honestly give that one a 7 because I feel like I'm seeing it from beginning until the end. And then significance, I have to give that a 5 because I mean I guess if the truck doesn't get unloaded, then obviously we have no merchandise to sell. And plus, like for some reason, I'm like one of like 2 or 3 people that knows how to finish it up. Because the thing is, the most pain in the ass thing about it is we have to get a cardboard bale into the truck at the end of the day. So if boxes are like stacked and in the way, we can't get it through. So like people that aren't used to like knowing how to like where to stack stuff will just have them overflowing. And the cardboard bale is huge, so you gotta be able to have plenty of space to get that through. So I'd give that a 5. And autonomy, that's like how much individual work, like how much control you have over it, right?
How much independence you have in your job, and then
I'd say like 80% of the time I have like a supervisor, but like 1 or 2 days a week it'll be like just me back there, like finishing stuff up and tidying up. So I'd say it's moderate. I'd give that one a 4.
Okay.
And then feedback from the job, probably give that a 1. Honestly, we really don't get much feedback. It's never really like good job or anything. It's just kind of like,
Yeah,
you did your job. Yeah. I mean, dude, so new manager said the back room is disgusting, so I'd say that's some feedback. But yeah, that's a 1.
Wait, for feedback, would it be like people just saying like, "Oh, good job," or like would it be like, "Hey, like"? That's what I'm kind of confused on too. I'm just.
I would think so. I should ask him that if teacher pops in again.
Yeah, maybe it's.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, maybe it's like if people tell you if you're doing a good job or not, or like if you you know what your performance is, you know, no one can tell you.
Because I mean, we have these things like these little cards that you can put into a raffle if you do something good. So I'd say that could be a form of feedback, but that still like never happens. So I'd give that a 1, honestly. Okay. All right, so let me add this up. 3 plus 7, 15 over 3 is 4. Yeah, 20. So pretty low when you look at the scale. Yes, that's even lower than job B. Yeah, because there's no type of feedback, so there's no multiplier there. And autonomy is pretty moderate, so yeah, 20. That's a low one. All right,
All right, my turn.
7 left. 7 minutes left.
All right, so I'm currently not working right now, but I used to work at fast food job or flame broiler.
Ooh, that sounds fire.
No,
No, I mean the food, not working there.
Yeah, food is pretty good.